All right, 1 2 1 2 in the place to be. What's up, everybody? How y'all doing out there? We're not done. We're not done. We're not done. In the mighty words of the great KRS-One. Man, this is my third show of the day in some capacity, and I am just as excited for this show as I was when I first got on air on the Niners postgame show on the powerhouse Larry Kruger's The Krug Show. 53,000 subscribers, thousands of listeners. And I just finished up with my man Dan and Coach Amelia on NorCal Sports, a little Warrior postgame show. And we're going to do the In the Dungeon show. Why? Because I love it and because I owe it to the listeners who support me out there. So I want to say thank you off the top. And I want to shout you out and say that we have a really good show planned tonight. That's one of the things that I have to do during the course of the day. I have to multitask and prepare for my show while I'm doing other shows. Because all the shows are a little different. Usually when I'm on someone else's show, we're focusing on a specific topic, be it the Golden State Warriors, the 49ers. But I like to do multiple topics in multiple sports and other facets of entertainment as well. As you guys know, I am a movie buff. I'm a writer. I've written a screenplay. I'm a rapper. I put music out. I got a real wide palette of things that I'm interested in. And I like to bring that to whatever I do with regards to content creation. Today is also the Golden Globes Awards, which is kind of a precursor to the Oscars. And a lot of times the winners of the Golden Globe is in a pretty good position to win an Oscar as well. I got some feelings about that, and I'm going to speak to that as well. I actually saw a movie that was nominated tonight for Golden Globe called The Nickel Boys. And I'll get into that a little later in the show. But off the top, I want to talk about the San Francisco 49ers, whose season came to an end. I'm sure a lot of 49er fans are like, Red, thank God. They finished up 6-11. They lost tonight to this afternoon against the Arizona Cardinals, 24-47. The game got away from them in the first half. I think if you compartmentalize the game and you look at it quarter by quarter, there were periods in which the 49ers were actually competitive. Josh Dobbs threw for 329 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. One wasn't his fault, and he had a horrible fumble that was inexcusable. But what I walk away from watching Josh Dobbs play, especially after listening to a clip on YouTube from the Krug Show about what he's learned from Brock Purdy this year. I mean, this guy gave, just an exquisite and detailed answer of all the things that he's learned watching Brock Purdy this year and being in the quarterback room. And then he went out this afternoon and he manifested, I'm going to say 90% of what he was talking about. So I'm puzzled why people don't like Josh Dobbs, to the extent that they don't view him as a viable backup quarterback who can actually win a game or two for you. I don't understand it, because he does not look like a vagabond third-string quarterback. The guy continues to get better. And I don't think it would be absurd for the 49ers to sign him as their backup quarterback. So I'll be interested to get your feelings on that. But I thought he played pretty well today. Kyler Murray, the former number 1 overall pick of the Arizona Cardinals, he's been much maligned. And I get it. He loses concentration sometimes. But I think just the stench of that organization sometimes gets the best of him. I would love to see him in an organization that was ready to make a big leap. Because I think he's a really talented guy. And he usually plays well against the 49ers. This afternoon was no different. He had 4 touchdowns, balling out of control. And any thoughts that this guy was a bust or not a worthy number 1 starter is crazy. Very, very good player. Very talented guy. His body language is not great, although today it was fantastic because they were playing so well. But Kyler Murray is very, very talented. Golden State Warriors went from the sublime of playing last night against Memphis to basically the basement. They put a dud on the court tonight against a hungry and inspired Sacramento Kings team. They lost 129-99. Yeah, 129-99, lost by 30. And they were losing 36-21 after the first quarter, without Jonathan Kuminga, without a lot of depth, with the Kings trying to make a statement against the Warriors. When you couple that with all things circling around this organization, they made a coaching change with Mike Brown. They got the guy they wanted in Doug Christie. And to their credit, they won 4 games in a row. They're playing inspired basketball. They didn't have De'Aaron Fox tonight. And a couple of people were saying on my man Dan Coach Amelia's show that less is actually more because not as many guys have to sacrifice. I mean, there's no reason why the Kings are not a top 5 seed in the Western Conference. I mean, they are extremely talented. All of this stuff about they need to shake up their roster, poor roster construction, I don't buy any of it. It's about player accountability with regards to the Kings. That's what it's about. They're young, they're talented. Many of them have already been paid. They got one of the best fan bases in all of the NBA. They just got to give 100% and be accountable. That's all they need to do. And that's been a problem for the Kings. So I like the Kings fans more than I like the team. I like the team, but I love the Kings fans. I love that market. I'm a Warrior fan. I'm a New York Knicks fan. You guys know that, number 1. But I am a Warrior fan. And the Kings made a statement tonight. So you want to talk about that game? The Warriors played the Miami Heat on Tuesday. And based on the fact that they got killed at home by Utah, even without Jimmy Butler, you got to expect them to come in to chase on Tuesday night playing like their feet are on fire. So you got to expect a really solid effort from Miami. And the Warriors, short-manned or not, they got to put forth the proper effort. And that includes the coaches as well. Because the Warriors can't effectively run their offense unless they have offensive players. The Warriors are putting some guys on the court that are not offensive players. It's a very tough offense to run. And I think they need to make some adjustments, especially when Dennis Schroeder is in the game by himself. There's no reason why he shouldn't be running a lot of pick and roll, darting to the basket, kicking the ball out, and hopefully guys will make some shots because they're not making any on a consistent basis. And it's frustrating. You know, I know you know that. All right, I got some more stuff to talk about, but I'm going to let that saute for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and talk to the great Vicky. Vicky says, let me put my glasses on, Vic, so I can see. Vicky says, I think I would rather talk about movies than the 49ers and the Warriors. People are saying that the Nickel Boys are the best picture of the year. The Warriors acting like they didn't want to play tonight. Nickel Boys. I don't know if it's the best film that I've seen this year. It might be one of the most important films that I've seen this year. It was directed by a guy by the name of Ramil Ross, and it was adapted from a novel that was written by the great Colson Whitehead, a pooler Pulitzer Prize winner of the same novel. And I saw it over the weekend, and it's gripping. And if you are a person who has a problem watching really tough, sad, grimy stories, it might not be something that you want to watch. But if you can take it and you're interested in learning about some of the ills of our society and the history, give it a shot. It's pretty long, but I'm happy that I saw it because I feel more educated now about something I did not know about. And in essence, the Nickel Boys is about the Nickel Academy, which is a reform school in Florida that was in existence in the 1960s. And I'll just say this, a lot of horrible things happened at this school. Lives were lost, brutality abound, and it took the courage of a couple of young men and some other folks to bring light to what was happening. And at the end of the day, information got out about this place, and ultimately they made some changes. I don't want to spoil too much for you, but watch the movie. I mean, there's a lot to it. The director takes an unconventional style to movie making that I thought was interesting. As somebody who is a fan of film and cinema and writing, it was uniquely done. So, the Nickel Boys, check it out. All right. Andrew the Goat says, horrible loss by the Warriors tonight at home against the Kings. I hope that never happens again. It was ugly. Wake up call for the Warriors after this ugly loss tonight at home. This Warriors team is not serious at all. Here's the thing. When you want to make a trade, the Warriors clearly want to make a trade. You cannot be giddy with pom-poms, saying how bad you want a particular player. Why? Because the team that you're trading with, potentially, is going to try to squeeze you for a little more. Relationships are lost and built on these transactions. And I think that's kind of what the Warriors are dealing with at this point. I got educated last night on NorCal Sports because I didn't know exactly what Chicago wanted in return for Vukovic, who I think would be a good fit for the Warriors. I thought maybe they were talking about multiple first-round picks or multiple seconds. And as it turns out, they want a set of players and maybe a second-round pick to get them off their books. I think it's a trade that the Warriors should do, especially when you consider that Kuminga's going to be out for at least 3 weeks. He would energize his team. He would give them a low-post scorer to throw the ball to. I would limit the number of 3-pointers that he takes. I don't want to hear that he shoots 44% from three. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear that he can score inside and he can rebound and play defense. Because that's how you win. All right? That's what wins in the NBA. So the Warriors need to do something, but I get this cat and mouse game that they're trying to play. M. Carter 7, what's up? I want to welcome you to the In the Dungeon show. Thank you for stepping in. Maybe you've been listening for a while and you just decided to comment. Thank you. Fire Nick Sorensen and Brandon Staley now. I can't believe how bad their defensive scheme is. Special teams need to be tweaked too. No discipline. 49ers need speed. All valid points. Brandon Staley has no history here. So I got to think they brought him in as a consultant, and he's going to probably go bye-bye. Now, Nick Sorensen, I wouldn't have a problem if he was reassigned in a different position. The players like him. Seemingly, the management staff likes him. He didn't raise his hand and hire himself. So who's to say that the guy was even ready to be defensive coordinator? I think the 49ers made a hasty move getting rid of Wilkes and not having a suitable replacement. That's on them. That's not on Sorensen. And then after the fact, they start stooping around talking to Belichick or maybe some other people, but they did not have a definitive answer to replace Wilkes when they fired him. That's not good business. I mean, the worst thing in the world would not have been to keep Wilkes around for another year, even though it wasn't a great fit personality-wise. But you did the team a disservice by getting rid of him and not having a suitable replacement. There's some people out there now, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with regards to hiring a defensive coordinator if they indeed fire Sorensen. I don't think there's any conclusive evidence that says that they will, but there's some people out there. Ulbrich, interim head coach of the Jets, former defensive coordinator, he'd be fantastic. Obviously, Salah's out there. Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator of University of Michigan, a long tenured, successful defensive coordinator in the NFL. Maybe he's interested in moving back to the NFL. I don't know. Vicky says, what's going on with the Phoenix Suns? What could the Warriors get from them? I'm going to say nothing, Vicky, because I don't think that their owner wants the Warriors to get better. KD, I don't think KD has the mindset to force his way out of another location. I just don't think he wants to do that. I think what they need to do is trade Bradley Beal. And I think that might happen. I think Jimmy Butler's going to wind up in 3 different places. Phoenix, Denver, or Dallas. Those are the 3 teams that I think he has a good chance of landing to. From Miami's perspective, they've always liked Bradley Beal. He might be, the most expensive 6th man in the NBA, because he might have to come off the bench with Miami, because I think that they like Tyler Hero now, and for good reason. He's starting to develop as a player. But Bradley Beal, I just don't think is a good enough defensive player. I don't think he's as locked in with KD and D Book as I think he needs to be. Now you might go, Red, you full of you know what. But when I watched Kevin Durant and Devin Booker in the Olympics, there was a clear synergy between those 2 players. And I think they have a symbiotic relationship, and I think that they can be successful. But the 3 of those guys, I don't think so. I think Jimmy Butler, if he came to Phoenix, he would give them a whole new type of attitude and a toughness that they don't have. And, with the myriad of point guards that they have, I think they'd be pretty damn good. So be on the lookout for that. Andrew says, are the Warriors in trouble? I think the Warriors are in trouble if they don't adjust how they play. It was shocking to all of us how challenging the Warriors' offense would be for Dennis Schroeder. I just thought that good players would be able to adjust relatively quickly. Dennis Schroeder averaged 18 points a game and 8 assists in Brooklyn? Not for a small period of time, for like 25 games. And they talk about him not having his family out here. I get that. But Dennis Schroeder, throughout his career, has been a pick and roll point guard. Not a guy who's going to pass the ball to the wing and go and stand beyond the 3-point line waiting for the next shot. That's just not his game. And I think the Warriors are starting to find that out now. His shooting mechanics are not great, which makes it very difficult for him to make shots against contested defense. They need to adjust. And they can't have bad games from Trayce Jackson-Davis. Not at 22, 23, 24, however old he is. He cannot have bad games. Can't. Because they're not asking him to do a lot. They're asking him to dunk the ball, finish strong at the rim. That's all they're asking him to do. And be a physical force on defense. He was neither tonight. And this is a guy who was not a first-round pick, who has like a 3-year deal, 2 years guaranteed. It's like, you can go out and get yourself a 60, 70, $80 million contract. You're that good. You're that talented. But consistency is where he struggled. And I believe in him, but I see parts of his game that needs to improve. And that's not all on him. It's coaching as well. Mr. Katir, what's up? And by the way, love your knowledge and insight when it comes to 49ers. Great thoughts, not like other non-realistic takes I hear these days. I thank you for the compliment. The 49ers are heavily covered by a lot of people. And I think overall, folks do a good job, but that's not a full-time gig for me. So I rely on watching the games. I played college football, played many other sports. So logic, background knowledge of football is how I draw certain conclusions. So thank you, I appreciate that. I have a lot of fun just kind of hanging out with the guys that I do these post-game shows with. We've known each other for a considerable amount of time, so we're friends, and I learn a lot from them, and hopefully I can add to the program. And also, we got to run my numbers up, man. Larry Krueger has 53,000 subscribers. I have like 200 or something. Now, I don't do a great job marketing and promoting my show. That's on me. But I would like to think that if you listen to the show, you listen to me, you like what you hear, you subscribe to the In the Dungeon Show. Hit the like button. So do all of those things. I haven't mentioned it one time tonight when I should be doing it every third sentence. I'm not great at that aspect, so I'm going to do it now. Hit the like button if you like the show. Subscribe to it. 1,000 subscribers seems like Mount Everest, but people climb Mount Everest, so we'll see. All right. It's Cartier, like glasses. Oh man, I'm a 49er Knicks fan. You're a Knicks fan? Wow. How do you feel about the Knicks? Man, I wish I could hear you pronounce your name, brother. I apologize. Okay. We have a kinship. We have a brotherhood. I like the Knicks. Love everything about this team. I think when was it Richardson? Big fella Robinson comes back. He's going to shore up a lot of their woes interiorly on the defensive end. He's going to free Cat up to continue to do what he does. He's not a great defender, but Mitchell Robinson is a tremendous interior defender. It wouldn't surprise me if the Knicks made a trade for some type of shooter. I don't think they really wanted to let Grimes go. Grimes is a good player. But the Knicks are good, man. Particularly in a series. In a series, they can beat anybody. I like how the team is constructed. I'm a big Thibodeau guy. It's about time, man. We haven't won a championship since the 70s. So I am a tremendous Knicks fan. I know the history. I played at Madison Square Garden. I know what that experience is like as a player, as a fan. Magical, simply magical. So I'm a Knicks fan, man, from way back. Kitchen Handy. What did I tell you about the Kings? Yeah, man, listen. What did I tell you about the Kings? The Kings are a talented team. And the Kings' biggest problem was not coaching. It was player accountability. Plain and simple. Player accountability. You think Doug Christie has took out his magic hat and pulled out some magic offense and defense? No. And then you hear players go, well, Doug has simplified some things. What? Shoot the ball? Rebound the ball? I mean, give me a freaking break. That was ridiculous. These are pros. These are professional players. The Kings offense is about 50% as complicated as the Warriors offense. And they didn't even run the Warriors offense. So I think that's a bag of rocks, to be quite honest with you. I think that some guys had a problem the way that Mike Brown would challenge them, probably internally and certainly publicly. They didn't like it. And I get it. Most pros don't like it. You know, most players don't like it. But the great players who allow themselves to be coached in a myriad of ways usually win. That's the deal. You're not always going to like your coach. You know, but history shows that you're going to deal with adversity, and to get on the same page, you're going to have some differences of opinion. As a player, you got to be accountable. When you have a high level of accountability as a player, it makes a statement to the whole team. Now, I'm going to say this about De'Aaron Fox. I don't begrudge De'Aaron Fox one bit for not signing an extension last year. But by De'Aaron Fox not signing that extension, it put the team and the organization kind of in an uneasy, unbalanced situation. Because he didn't come out and play his best basketball. The numbers are there. Nobody's saying he's jaking it, because he's not. But he didn't play his best basketball. And I don't know if he was the leader that they thought that he would be after Harrison Barnes was traded to San Antonio, which left a gaping hole in leadership. It's not by mistake that everywhere that Harrison Barnes goes, they win. Think about that. Harrison Barnes won an NBA championship with the Warriors. He was a successful player in Dallas. He was part of the reclamation project in Sacramento. Now he's in San Antonio, and all of a sudden San Antonio is, I believe, above 500 with a rookie coach, with their Hall of Fame coach not even coaching right now. Harrison Barnes is a major reason why. Accountability, player accountability. Vicky says, the reason I love listening to you is because you are knowledgeable and talk about a lot of different things. I appreciate that, Vicky. And Vicky, let me say this to you. And you and I communicate sometimes about things that's not involved in sports. I mean, I just have so much value for people like yourself and for people who support me. I don't take anything for granted. And I realize that it's a real privilege to have a platform and to have people take their personal time to check out what I do. With that said, I'm very, very competitive like everybody else. and I want to win. I want to be successful. And I realized that if I really grinded really hard, or if I was in a different space, I would be a big deal. I get it. Not because I'm some genius, I'm not, but I work extremely hard. And I talk about things that I know. And there are a couple of things that I am an expert at. So thank you for your kind words. And I'm just going to continue to grind and do what I love to do. I'm very passionate about sports, and I'm passionate about working hard and being a great teammate and sacrificing. Guess what? Another thing that I do, I don't really talk a lot about it, but I'm a pretty good cook. My mom is a phenomenal cook, and I wish right now I could put magically a nice cup of gumbo and rice into the computer for everybody listening to this show right now. Because I made some gumbo today, and I gotta tell you, it is outstanding. I'm gonna have an incredible bowl of gumbo with some fresh rice when I finish this show. And I wish I could share it with you because it's so good. I'm very meticulous with my food prep. I got shrimps in there, turkey sausage, chicken, okra. I know I piss people off. Like, Red, why are you doing this to me right now? I apologize. The Knicks aren't going to win a championship anytime soon. Why do you have to bring my spirits down, Vicky? Bay Area, thank you. I appreciate you. Subscribe. My man Keith says, what's up, Frank? Who you got for the college football champs this year? That freshman wide receiver, oh my God. Ohio State looks like the best wide receiver in the country. Yeah, I've never seen anything like that. He's a 6'3", 225-pound freshman juggernaut. I'm going to say this. I think Notre Dame's going to win. I think Notre Dame's going to win it. I think losing to Northern Illinois lit a fire. I think that they're the most balanced team in college football. You might say it's Ohio State. I think Ohio State is the most talented team. But I think the most balanced team, the most opportunistic team is Notre Dame. And I love how Notre Dame's head coach, Marcus Freeman, is just kind of like one of the guys, man. He was not just a guy. This guy was a solid linebacker at Ohio State. They do a tremendous job recruiting. Marcus Freeman has a lot of tumbling in him. He's not an offensive coordinator. He's not the defensive coordinator. He is the head coach, and he acts like an head coach, and he holds people accountable. So, the only team that I don't think has a chance to win is Texas. Ewers as a quarterback, talented, but makes too many mistakes, and I just don't think they have the balance that Penn State, Ohio State, and Notre Dame has. I also love Riley as a quarterback for Notre Dame. That's a tough dude, man. That's a tough dude. So we're going to see. It's a lot of fun. Is it Katir? To you, what do you think is the biggest problem of the 49ers defense? I think it's stopping the run. It is stopping the run. When they got rid of Armstead, they got rid of Buckner. Now, obviously, they have a salary cap, and they can't pay everybody, but I think they underestimated losing Buckner. Buckner was a stalwart in the middle, and Armstead was not only a good player, but he was a team leader, so he held guys accountable also. So as talented as those two guys were, they were also leaders. and they were high accountability guys. So I think that's where the 49ers are really lacking. They're lacking in that leadership. Guys are coming in and out. Maybe they don't feel as comfortable exhibiting leadership the way that some of those stalwart players have done in the past. But their defensive line, we're not used to the 49ers being pushed around. It's like, who doesn't average 5 yards a carry against the 49ers? So they got to shore up that defensive line. You know, people rag on their offensive line, but offensively, I don't think they're that bad. I still think that they're top 10. What's shocking to us has been the mistakes by Brock Purdy. Their margin for error is so small, they can't have him making key mistakes at pivotal points in the game. But defensively, in some games, they're just a sieve. Now, Trey Greenwald is going to help, going on the premise that he's healthy. But I've seen a lot of players on the 49ers take bad angles this year. I mean, like, they run up to the line of scrimmage and running backs just like run right by them. And I'm going to tell you a simple, fundamental defensive technique. You run down the line of scrimmage. That's all you got to do. This is simple. You don't run across the line of scrimmage in an open area, then having running backs run by you. No. Be under control and simply run down the line of scrimmage. You have a natural teammate. It's called the sideline. So the mistakes that I see, and also from an end's perspective, you don't give up leverage. I mean, they got good tackling linebackers, you know, normally. So if you get beat inside, you got Fred Warner, you know, you got safeties, but don't get beat outside. Too many times this year the 49ers have been beat outside, and that's a problem. Get your handy says, I love some gumbo. Oh, you can't eat shrimp. Oh, man. Wow. Does it make you break out or just have a bad reaction to it? That's some, well, you know what, though? You got to put shrimp in it. Some sausage, some chicken, maybe some other things. Or is it seafood in general? I don't know. Keith says, Notre Dame is overrated. I believe soft schedule and quarterback can't throw well. I think he throws good enough. I don't know if he's an NFL quarterback. Maybe not, but I think he's different. Decent, excuse me. I saw Riley Leonard put it on people when he was at Duke, and he's made some throws this year. I also think that he runs the ball 10 to 15 times a game. Notre Dame is trying to play field position. They're trying to score off turnovers, and they don't want to turn the ball over. You know, they're just a 1990s grinded out type of team. I think you can win that way. You know, the last time they won a national championship was when they had Tony Rice. And Tony Rice couldn't throw the ball, 6 yards down the field. Yet they still won a national championship. I think when they look at Riley Leonard, they see some Tony Rice in him. So I like their approach. Vicky says, anybody else but not the Ohio State? If Ohio State is so good, then why did they lose to Michigan? Great point. And I'm going to tell you this. At the end of the year, Michigan was playing like a top 15 team because they don't have a quarterback. How do they beat these teams without a legit high major quarterback? You got to credit the head coach. You got to credit the accountability of those players. Wink Martindale got off kind of to a slow start, but at the end of the year, that defense was hopping around. I mean, they abused Alabama a couple of days ago without 5 of their top defensive players. So they got a good thing going. Vicky says, that's why you draft O-line. Then you use your cap for free agents defensively. I think the 49ers actually have bought into that philosophy, but the free agents that they brought in haven't done so well. You know, they got Hargraves from Philly. That's been They got Collins in. I believe he came from the Titans. That's been okay. So it hasn't worked. But I'm with you. A solid offensive line is only going to make Brock Purdy better. You know, because he needs a solid offensive line. I think they need another pass-catching tight end as well, who can block. Because as great as Kittle was this year, he gets beat up a lot. I mean, that guy takes a beating. And I'm concerned about him. I am. As good as he is, I'm concerned. Vicky says, I love gumbo. You love gumbo too? Who knows? At some point in time, I might find a way to get you some of my gumbo. Overnighted or what, I don't know. You might figure it out. What's up, Tangy? How you doing? Caught you on the Niners postgame show a couple of times and always wanted to check your channel out. Tonight was my first chance. Well, I appreciate you, brother. You know, if you are indeed a brother, I'm not quite sure. Tangy, it could be either or. Yeah, man. I love to collaborate, like I said, on some of those other shows. Those are my friends, you know, we go back. Those are my friends. But then the Dungeon Show's a little different, you know. We incorporate all topics, all sports, and you might not know it, but I'm an artist myself. I'm a hip hop artist myself. I put music out. I'm a writer. I've written screenplays. And I just have a fascination with a lot of different things. So if you like a myriad of topics, hopefully all entertaining, then check me out. Subscribe, hit the like button. We definitely need the support. Thank you. Michigan has a QB now. Yeah, that kid, what's his name? Is it Brent Underwood or Blake Underwood? I know he's from the Michigan area. That dude got a bag too. Thank you, Tangy. Appreciate you. Vicky says, I hate that the Kittle has to, oh yeah, that Kittle has to block. Yeah, I mean, there's some irony there though, Vicky, because he's a great blocker. He's an outstanding blocker, one of the best blocking tight ends in all of the NFL. But it certainly wears on you. So I'm not one of these people who thinks that Debo is cooked. I don't believe that. I also think that quietly the 49ers may have found something with Debo returning kicks. If he's not going to be a primary wide receiver next year, maybe he's a third receiver. When he runs back kickoffs, he's one of the best in the NFL. Who knew? He's really good at that. So it'd be interesting to see if they would risk such a high-priced player and put him in that position next year, because I don't think that he can expect to be the player that he was 3-4 years ago. I don't think so. I think he can still be very effective. He can be solid, but he's probably going to have to contribute in different ways. Kyle Shanahan made a great point earlier this week about Ricky Pearsall. He said that he liked his progress. He thinks he's talented, but he really needs to improve his upper body strength. And I totally agree with that. That interception that Josh Dobbs got today, one of them, in which Pearsall was bobbling the ball, that's a combat catch. That's a combat catch. The more physical player came away with the football. And that was on Pearsall. But he's tough, and he wants to be good, and I think he can catch. So I think that's a net positive for the 49ers, especially when you consider that Brandon Ayuk is probably not going to come back until what? November? Late October, November? So Pearsall's going to have to play well. You got Jennings. They might be able to find somebody in free agency. And guess what? Connolly looked pretty darn good today. He looked pretty good today when he got an opportunity to play. So I'm not as concerned about the 49ers offense going on the premise that they are healthy. I'm really concerned about the defense. Key said, what do you make of the Jimmy Butler situation? Is he being a diva? Of course he's been a diva, but so is Pat Riley. And, we know who's going to win that. Pat Riley's going to win that. Why? Because I don't want to misquote it, but Pat Riley is an owner. He's an owner of the Miami Heat. I mean, can you imagine how much his ownership has appreciated since he's been in Miami? This is Pat Riley. Let's just say it's 10%. The Miami Heat are worth at least $4 billion. If he owns 10%, that's $400 million. If he owns 3%, that's $133 million. Come on, man. The strife between Miami and Jimmy Butler started when Pat Riley said last year, if you're not playing, you should be quiet. And they wasn't in a hurry to extend his contract. They paid him $100+ million. I get it. I think he can still play. I think he's done a lot for that organization. But he's a player. He's not an owner. And if he wants to get more money, which is fine, he's going to have to go somewhere and kind of play nice. He's 35 years old. And show his worth. But I just think it's just, two alpha dogs, and the biggest dog with the biggest bite's going to win that. That's all. Should the Warriors go after Jimmy? Absolutely not. He's not a three-point shooter, which is how they want to play. And his usage rate is pretty high. He doesn't do a whole lot offensively. What he does do, he does very well. But you have to feature your offense around Jimmy Butler. And that's kind of a problem. They need him in Denver, though, because he brings a level of toughness that I don't think that they feel they have. Michael Porter Jr.'s outside shooting is not going to be enough. They miss the grittiness, the toughness of Caldwell Pope, and they're trying to find a way to get that back. Phoenix, I think, again, he brings a level of toughness to Phoenix that they don't have. And Dallas would be a decent spot, but I don't think that they want to pay him that kind of money. I don't think they do. So I think Denver or Phoenix is probably going to be where he winds up, because even if you don't move Brad Beal directly to Miami, maybe there's a third team involved. Maybe there's a third team involved. So that's my take on that. Key says, watching Sam Darnold struggle tonight made me think Brock is way better than people give him credit for. He torched that same team last week. Let me say this. Did you hear that that clip of Josh Dobbs talking about what he learned by being in the quarterback room and being in practice watching Brock Purdy from the neck up? Josh Dobbs has one of the highest IQs in all of the NFL. And the way that he was able to articulate and regurgitate that information was fascinating, because it was a broad spectrum of information that he had consumed from Brock Purdy. And then he went out today and he actually manifested it. So it kind of added some credence to a lot of the Brock Purdy fans out there. With that said, I'm not going to hold a singular bad outing against Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold would do a good job in most organizations, but per usual, when he has heat on him, he's just not as good. Vicky says the Warriors need a player that can get offensive rebounding, second chance points. That would be nice. I would take the guy who they can throw the ball inside to and have him make a layup, i.e. Vukovic. Would Nikola Vukovic make the Warriors much better? Yes, he would. He would. Yes, he would. And I'm going to tell you why. Because part of the challenges that he has in Chicago is he plays too many minutes. Vukovic, as a 25 to 27 minute player, is very efficient. Tremendously efficient. Because he can score against anybody. You look at every place where he's played, he's averaged damn near 20 points a game because he's a good offensive player. But when you feed him, when the opposition goes against him in the post, he doesn't have the lateral quickness, so he fouls too much. And once he gets in foul trouble, you take away his offense. The Warriors know that. So what they would do is probably start him, but they would hope that they could get quality second unit play from Trace Jackson Davis, because I think that he would be the guy who they would keep. Looney would probably go to Chicago, and it'd be tough seeing Looney go, but I get it because everybody knows Looney's going to be working for the Warriors. What, 7-8 years from now? Maybe even sooner than that. So they love that guy. But to position the Warriors to challenge for a Western Conference championship title, they would have to take all of those wonderful feelings that they have for Looney and put them aside and do the deal. I can make the same statement about Brandon Podzinski because they really like him. Probably not as much right now, but they like him. They do like him. And I don't think they are ready to see him walk out the door. I know his agent a little bit, and, you know, he has a great relationship with the Warriors as well. So that's a tough move, too. That's a tough one. You know, I think they want to find a way to see Brandon Podzinski work through these struggles that he's had this year and come out on the other side as a quality NBA player. I think his challenge is really just humility. You know, he acts sometimes like he's one of those guys. He's not one of those guys. What he is like most NBA players, a solid worker bee that's integral to winning. Just be that guy. You know, that guy equates to $80 to $100 million at the end of your career. As crazy as that sounds, that's what it is. The Warriors don't like 2 points. They like threes. Steph made a 2 tonight, sliced through the Kings defense. You know, Vic, you make an excellent point, but I'm going to say this. And I think Steve Kerr is, you know, I'm a Kerr guy. I think he's a brilliant coach. All coaches have to adjust. All coaches have to be flexible. And I mean, Kerr will go to the mat with his vision of how offense should be played. That's fine when you got prime Clay on the other side. That's fine when you have Kevin Durant, the unicorn. You don't have those guys anymore. You don't have those guys anymore. So you got to adjust your attack to your personnel. And here's the biggie. And man, I hope that he can resurrect his career, his season. But I'm questioning whether or not the Warriors did enough research on Buddy Hield, because this has been an unmitigated failure. Forget about the 12-3 start. This is, he's in his own head. Nobody with a touch like that to shoot as poorly as Buddy Hield is shooting. And he is so locked in to how he thinks that he's going to be successful. And I'm like, dude, drive to the basket. Drive to the basket. You can't go 1 for 5, 1 for 6 every night from 3. You can't do it. Because what happens is the game gets out of hand. You're down 15-16 against good teams. You can't come back. Especially when you consider that Kuminga is not going to be playing for 3 weeks, maybe longer. You got to play smarter. Take the ball to the hole. That's how they beat Memphis. And they made a lot of shots against Memphis. Buddy didn't make any. He made 1 shot. I think Lindy Waters was 4 for 6. So he played well. But the Warriors are going to have to grind some games out. They're going to have to steal some wins, snatch some wins from some good teams. Like I'm telling you right now, Bickerstaff in Detroit, that dude has made his bones on being a tough-minded coach. I'm going to tell you what he's going to tell them. He's not even going to mention offense. He's going to say, this is what I used to do. When I was coaching high school basketball, no matter how talented a team I had, and I generally didn't have really talented teams until 2 or 3 years. We would progressively get better every year. But this is what I told my team. Once we became decent, I said, fellas, if we hold this team to under 45 points, regardless of how we play offense, we're gonna win. If we have less than 10 turnovers, if we shoot 70% from the free throw line, and we hold them to under 45 points, we're gonna win. That philosophy actually, more times than not, played out, and we were successful. From an NBA perspective, if you don't allow the Warriors to shoot above 35% from 3, and you can hold them to under 45% from the field goal percentage, and you can do a decent job on the boards, you're going to win. Regardless of what you do on offense. It's about defense. You got to grind these games out. If the Warriors could go 500 while Kuminga is out, that's like found money. And from a defensive perspective, I think that they could possibly do it. Draymond Green should not be the only player on the team who kind of gets into stuff. Sometimes he goes overboard, but you never question his intent. His intent is to say, you got to respect us, Memphis. You got to respect us, Detroit. He needs his teammates to follow suit, because you can win games like that. Portola 45. G. Spencer should not be on the roster. Kevin Knox should replace one of them. I think that's coming. And I'm going to say this, man. I don't root against anybody. But Guy Santos, to me, does not look like an NBA player. He has NBA talent. But skill-wise, this is year 3. I haven't seen it. Now, you can go red, you're biased. I am biased. I would much rather see Juan Toscano Toscano Anderson on the team. Why? Juan's a high-level defender. He's a good connector. I mean, Guy Santos, I watched Guy Santos in the G League also. This is not me just kind of like flying in the wind. No, I watched him in the G League. And he doesn't dominate in the G League. So I'm hoping that he can turn things around, but I'm still looking for one thing that Guy Santos does well. Spencer, I kind of like him. Now, is he a horrible defensive player? Yes, he is. Is he slow? Yes, he is. Does he have marginal lateral quickness? Yes. But he makes good plays though. I like him. Is that Pat Spencer? But see, I just think he needs confidence. I think the guy can actually knock some shots down. In this market, I was the biggest, who's the guy from Virginia who the Warriors had a couple years ago? He's on Cleveland now. Ty Jerome. I was the biggest Ty Jerome fan. People used to kill me. They said, Red, you just like him because he's from New York. I was like, yeah, but I've seen him play. Ty Jerome can ball, dude. Why is Kirk putting this guy on the court? Ty Jerome could play. I think Spencer has more to show offensively, but he scares me defensively. He does. He scares the daylights out of me. He really does. Vicky, Steph looked like a football player when he sliced through the Kings players. Stephen Curry can do no wrong in my book. Do you think Aaron Glenn should be a head coach? He's doing wonders with backup players, unlike our coordinator. I think he should be considered for an opportunity. I think he should be respected. Aaron Glenn was a really good player, a Pro Bowl player, and I give Dan Campbell a lot of credit for giving him that opportunity with not a whole lot of coaching experience. And he's done a fantastic job. I'm one of those guys that, like, I love being on a team, and I love being a star in my own role. So I think sometimes, I don't know if this applies to Aaron Glenn or not. I can't say that it does, but I think sometimes people in general want to take a bigger bite of the apple than maybe they should take. I would love to see Aaron Glenn put more time in, be a defensive coordinator for another 3 years. So, so there's no like hype hire. The high, was it Brian Johnson, the hype offensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, the hype defensive coordinator, because those head coaching opportunities come fast and they can go fast. Ask Jared Mayo how he feels right now. Gerard Mayo, excuse me. That sucks. You work your whole life to position yourself to be a head coach, and somebody pulls a rug underneath your feet after 1 year. I don't want that to happen to Aaron Glenn. And can we get real for a second? We get hired last and we get fired first. It's just what it is. So you need to really read the room. I actually think that somebody like a James Franklin at Penn State, if he wanted to make a move to the NFL, I think that he would probably make it, because guess what? He wouldn't take the job unless he had a bag. Get that bag. You know, if you're making $2-3 million a year, you got 2 years guaranteed, $6 million. That's chump change. But if you come in from college and you got a guaranteed 25, 30 million, oh, they're gonna give you another year or two. You know, so sometimes it's the dynamics surrounding the coaching positions that matter most. Patola 45 says Ty Jerome could ball. He has that nice floater. Yeah. Got a nice float game. Can shoot the three. Do you think Jim Harbaugh should be coach of the year because of the turnaround with the Chargers? No. I think Dan Campbell should win it. I think he should be highly considered, but what I think what Jim Harbaugh has done is more of an indictment to what Brandon Staley didn't do. They had a damn good roster last year, and all he did was muck it up. Literally, every week, they found a different way to lose. Jim Harbaugh came in, set some standards, held people accountable, and played conventional football. That's it. That's all he's done. Like he did at San Diego, like he did at Stanford, like he did with the 49ers, like he did at Michigan. Coach Sanders will want a bag when he enters the NFL. Absolutely. And he should get a bag. He should get a bag. You know? When we get to $8 million a year, okay, we can talk. Although he's probably making 7 or 8 at Colorado, so we're probably looking at 10 million. 10 with 3 or 4 years guaranteed. I mean, it just kind of speaks to how much money is in the NFL. Allegedly, Bill Belichick is making $10 million a year at North Carolina. I guess the first 2 years are guaranteed. So yeah, I mean, as bad as you might want a particular job, you got to say no if it's not right. Up in New England, odds are Mike Vrabel is going to get that job. I get it, but it sucks. You know, Mike Vrabel and Gerard Mayo were probably teammates. You don't fire Gerard Mayo unless you know who your next coach is going to be. And you can say, "Nah, I'm not stabbing the guy in the back," but come on, man. Coaching is tough. At the professional level, it is tough. But I think New England was like, listen, the Jets are probably going to hire Vrabel, so we got to get him first. We got to see if he wants to be in New England or he wants to be in New York. This is just me using common sense and logic. I have no intel, but I do have decent logic skills. It makes sense. They've established that they hit on the quarterback. So they feel strong about the quarterback. Vrabel has gone to the playoff multiple times. He's a hell of a coach. Gerard Mayo happens to be an inexperienced coach who I think would have been successful. He did everything right, or most things right. But Bob Kraft does not want Woody, the owner of the Jets, to get over on him. So I think he pulled the trigger. This is going on the premise that Mike Vrabel is hired as a New England Patriots coach. I don't know this. Again, I'm just using logic. I want Rex Ryan to go back to New York. Rex makes things more interesting. He does. And the thing about Rex that I love, Rex was a hit on television, is a hit on television. It's like stealing money from him. He's so charismatic. The thing I like about Rex Ryan as a head coach, he's not afraid of the players. Excuse me. He's not only not afraid of players, he's not afraid to speak to them in a direct language that they can understand, that lends itself to accountability. I love it. All right, let me get this in. In the playoffs, you got the Steelers versus the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to pick the Ravens, but I expect the game to be close, and it would not surprise me if Pittsburgh won. I know you like red. Now, would I bet on that? No, I wouldn't bet on that. But would I bet on what players at the professional level in Pittsburgh dropping wide open passes? No. So I think Pittsburgh's defense is going to be solid. But I picked Baltimore. The Chargers versus the Texans. I'm going to pick the Texans at home. I just got a feeling that this is Harbaugh's first year. They got to travel. I'm going to pick the Texans simply because they're playing at home. Buffalo versus the Broncos. I think Buffalo's going to take out a can. Philly versus Green Bay. Philly better win. But if you go back to the first game of the year, Green Bay was very formidable against Philly. And I think it was Brazil. So I think Philly's going to win, but that's not going to be easy. I'm picking Tampa Bay to beat the Washington Commanders. And I think the Vikings play the Rams. I'm going to pick the Vikings. I'm going to keep saying this because I got this right, and I'm happy I did. Did you guys see how well Bryce Young played in the second half of the season? How many of you raised your hand was ready to call Bryce Young a bust? Not me. I've never wavered. Anybody who listens to this program will tell you, Red has been in Bryce Young's corner from day one. And I have. That dude was unwavering in his ability to be accountable. He got spooked because he was getting up off the ground so much. I don't think Carolina actually deserves him. I wish he would go somewhere else. But I'm happy to see him play well. They're not going to trade him. And good for him. Good for Bryce. Good to see. I've seen enough. Joe Burrow is one of the best 20 quarterbacks in the history of football. Let me say it again. I've already seen enough. Joe Burrow is that guy. He is one of the top 20 quarterbacks in the history of football, to me. Just in terms of talent. You might be Red. That's hyperbole. What are you talking about? He hasn't won a Super Bowl. I don't care. Talent-wise, Joe Burrow's that guy. I would not pick him for MVP this year because his team didn't play well enough. It's a team award. Kind of. And what is this nonsense about Shedeur Sanders not having a first-round grade by NFL scouts? Is it just somebody trying to be popular, or is there some real rhetoric out there about what his draft grade is? I disagree with it. I don't think that you want to put that type of tape out there. He didn't play well against BYU. He actually played horrible, played bad. but he was under duress, but he made some plays that you can't make at the NFL level. I just hope everything works out for the young man. But I think he will be drafted in the first round, but there's more and more noise out there about teams not having a first round grade on him. Last, I want to talk about the Brutalist. I think it won Best Picture in the Golden Globe tonight. Adrian Brody stars, and it's kind of one of those period pieces about the horrors that people coming from different countries had to endure in their migration to the United States, and how they ultimately experienced triumph after dealing with tremendous tragedy. Real story. I'm just going to say this. As a writer, as a fan of cinema, excuse me. It bothers me that people in positions of power get to choose which stories matter most. Think about that for a second. We don't get to make those choices. People of color generally don't get an opportunity to make those choices. And for people who give everything that they have and accomplish greatness, you're oftentimes shocked when you get acknowledged. Why? Because the people who are making the decisions about what's best or what's more important or what's more popular oftentimes don't look like you. And while artists, I think, celebrate all forms of artistic expression, it's disappointing because the Golden Globes, the Oscars, these shows, these acknowledgments do matter. But I think it's really emblematic of our society oftentimes. It's who's making the choices, not necessarily what's best. Because that's subjective and it's arbitrary, but who's making the choices is not subjective and that's not arbitrary. So I'm going to see The Brutalist. I'm sure it's great. It's 3.5 hours. I guess there's an intermission, which by all accounts has been well received by the audience. But I saw the Nickel Boys. Vicky just said, I saw The Fire Inside. It's a great movie. Great movie. Yeah, that's my piece on it. I just don't, I think that, you know, for artists who put everything that they have into their heart, artists who put everything that they have into their art and don't have the comfort or the confidence that they're going to be judged equally, that has to be gut-wrenchingly disappointing. And it's so real. I think ultimately you have to do what you do to please yourself and no one else. As simple as that might sound, it's probably not realistic because when you put all your time into your art, and I'm an artist, and people like your stuff and they acknowledge you for it, it feels good. There's nothing wrong with that. So, yes, The Fire Inside is a movie about Carissa Shields. a women's boxer out of Detroit, the only two-time gold medal champion. It talks about her journey. I saw the movie also. I thought it was outstanding. There are many other movies that I've seen this year that I thought were really, really good that didn't get nominated. And Vicky says teams that give up on young QB, on young quarterbacks is stupid. It's not smart. Definitely not smart. So, anyway, speedy recovery for Jonathan Kuminga. I'm excited to see how many people supported the program tonight. I want to thank you in advance for that. If you like what you've heard or what you've seen, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. It certainly helps the algorithm. And once again, it is truly a pleasure and an honor to do what I do and to talk to a audience, a loyal audience. I really appreciate y'all. I might pop up on a couple of shows this week, so be on the lookout for that. And follow me on X, Twitter, at Big Frank Red, because I always send out a message about when I'm going to have the next In the Dungeon show. So you will be dinged, if you will, to know when that's going to happen. All right, so follow me on X. Subscribe to the show, In the Dungeon show. And Vicky says, I hit the like button. I know you did, Vicky. Thank you. I really appreciate you. All right, I'm going to do my thing and get out of here, everybody. Success and getting paid is a manifestation of the whole process. If you as an individual don't do things to help other people make their lives better, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't done nothing. My name is Frank Red. Until the next time, you all have a great week. Peace.